Hey guys, so today I'm going to be looking at spoiled kids reveal when the real world hit them. So yeah, let's just get right into the video. I was a spoiled, rotten child and also into my teen years. My parents bought me a brand new red convertible for my 16th birthday. I threw a fit over it because what I actually wanted was my brother's old car that we still had, which was dark blue in colour. I was so shallow and a horrible person back then. So what really turned me around? That next summer, I took a job as a camp counselor at a local day camp. I did not have to work, but I was bored and sounded like something easy to do. God, I was so wrong. This day camp was specifically geared to the lower classes who could not afford childcare during the summer. We served them breakfast, lunch, and an afternoon snack. For a lot of the camp kids, this was all they would eat that day, and on Fridays, they would beg for extra food/snacks to take home for themselves and or their siblings because they may not get to eat again until Monday. This really hit me hard, but the part that got me the most, this one kid around 5 to 6 would refuse to take their shoes and socks off, even if we were going to the public pool that day. I couldn't understand why until one day he came in limping, like his feet were causing him so much pain. I convinced him to let me help him get his shoes and socks so I could see what might be bothering him. Once I did, it took everything in me not to break down right there. His socks were covered in blood, his poor tiny feet were covered in sores, and his toes seemed to crawl under a bit. He was in so much pain from the state of his feet. As it turns out, he had been wearing shoes about 3 sizes too small. His family couldn't afford new shoes. I took my lunch break and went out to buy him new socks and a few pairs of shoes. This broke me, which I definitely needed. It changed my way of thinking forever. This is making me kind of emotional. Oh, that's so nice that he realized that not everyone is like him. Wow, I guess this was really eye-opening for him. I'm just curious as to why some people don't know about this though. Like, do some people really not know that this is common in a lot of places? Like, do some spoiled kids really just think everyone is like them? Like, I'm just curious, genuinely curious. I grew up in Indonesia, a third world country where you definitely have maids if you have internet. I grew up thinking it's common to have multiple maids. Moved to Singapore, a first world country where people still have maids, but it's more of an upper middle class and above thing. Got assigned to sweep the floors by the teachers, and that was my first time holding a broom. Swept it back and forth like in cartoons, and everyone was looking at me going, what are you doing? Turns out I was just creating a dust cloud around me. You have to sweep in one direction and gather all the dust into the dustpan. Mind blown. Oh my gosh. He was just sweeping it everywhere. Yo, what? How do you not know how to sweep the floor? That's hilarious though. He was just sweeping dust into his friends' faces basically, you know. This is next level spoiled, not knowing how to use a broom. What? Grew up in a fancy home, more rooms than you could ever need on a large property in a pretty rural area. I got everything I wanted whenever I wanted. Huge plasma TV, DSLR camera, motorbike, pony, etc. A pony? I never knew what my parents really did for a living. I remember kids always asking what my parents did as a job in the playground, and I never really knew how to respond. I soon figured out what my parents did when my dad was arrested, and the house, cars and everything else was repossessed by the government as profits of crime. I now live in a bad house that barely stands in a dodgy area of town. It definitely was a shock to the system, but I'm adjusting just fine, I guess. Oh my gosh. I kind of feel bad sometimes. Like, it's really how they're raised, right? And the environment they grew up in. So like, you can't really blame anyone but their parents. I grew up in a Midwestern town, middle class neighborhood, private school, etc. I never needed anything, but my dad grew up poor and my parents wouldn't give into any of my big wants. My neighbor and best friend got everything he asked for. I loved hanging out at his house because he had the best TV, the best food, and the newest video games, 100 pairs of shoes, and 1,000 hats. After we moved away, I found out that his parents gave him anything he wanted because they were in a loveless marriage and constantly fought around him. They were buying love when my parents were showing me love. I always wondered why he would prefer to stay at my house with a crappy TV and an outdated Nintendo with no games. Turns out he wanted to stay at our house because my parents didn't fight and would actually listen to him. My parents became surrogate parents for him, and to this day he calls them mum and dad. And I'm happy to call him brother. If it weren't for him, I would never have known how I won the parental lottery. Oh my gosh. Well, that's so sad. I feel like in life you always get one thing, but you lose the other. Oh. Or you can have both if you're really lucky. That's the thing though, in life you always want something that you don't have kind of thing, right? But yeah, that's crazy. This is why I feel like most of the times it's not the kid's fault for being spoiled, but the parents' fault for spoiling them, because they wouldn't be spoiled kids if their parents never spoiled them in the first place. So yeah. When I was 16, my parents left for a week vacation and gave me money for the week. Since I didn't know how to do laundry, never even seen it done, I took all my clothes to the dry cleaner, even my panties. The cleaner asked 3 times if I was sure I wanted them dry cleaned. I said yes. 2 days later, I got 8 pair of panties safety pinned to individual hangers. My laundry cost about $90 that week. I just assumed this was all normal. That's expensive. I grew up with my mother doing everything for me. I was never taught many things because she would do everything. She's an amazing mother, don't get me wrong, but I wish I was taught more. Well, I have a job now where I take care of mentally disabled adults. You basically have to do everything. You have to do all of the cooking, all of the cleaning, all of the laundry, and you have to shower clients and change their clothes and diapers. Some of them can change themselves. I'd say that this job is helping me a lot. It's giving me more experience in the real world and a great opportunity to help my patients and spend time with them. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this if their mum is like this. I think I can kind of relate a bit because my mom is like really overprotective and stuff, and she's really caring, so she likes to do everything for us. Like even if we want to do it, she'll just be like, oh, I'll do it. You can do your own thing and not waste your time on this kind of thing because I can do it. Like she just doesn't like to see us. I don't know, actually. I do feel like sometimes parents think this is the best for their kids, but they don't really know that one day their kids are gonna grow up and move out and they won't know how to do anything. You know, like it's better to teach them early on. At 20, when I started dating my now husband, he was raised by a single mum who worked 3 jobs and they still barely got by. While my mum was a stay-at-home mum and my dad was successful in his line of work. Husband and I went to high school together. At the beginning of every school year, my parents would easily drop $15,000 on me and my sister for school clothes. My husband would go with our high school secretary to get clothes that were paid for by the school district. I didn't even know that was a thing. Whoa, $15,000 on clothes? That's a lot of money. I'm shook at the $15K on clothes. Why do you need $15K on clothes for school? What? I thought that was going to be like their tuition, and still that is a lot of money. But I didn't think that was going to be on clothes. My roommate in college was a former Marine. He was basically like, 1, I am not cleaning up this for you, and 2, this will be cleaned up. Ooh. You better go do everything yourself, you know. When I moved out of my hometown for college, it was an absolute culture shock. I met other students who couldn't go to their dream schools because of how much it cost, so they had to go in-state. They didn't eat out every other day. They bought second-hand clothes. Some had never travelled out of the country. Some never even out of the state. Some were driving their parents' first cars. That blew my mind. This is how the rest of the 99% of the country lives. I come from a filthy rich background, but I work hard to hide it so that you can't tell. I dress normally. I don't really talk about my background. I try to buy stuff on sale. Sometimes it shows in ways that I can't help. I've never seen bad cars before going to college. I don't know how to drive cars with poor handling, and I always forget to turn off the headlights because I've never driven a car without automatic lights. I don't know how much anything costs because it doesn't matter. I'll still buy it anyway. I also don't value money. $100 just isn't a big deal to me, but I know it means a lot to others, so I don't mind giving it to friends who are in need. But if you don't look too closely at my habits, you can't tell. And that was a conscious decision that I've made. I also loathe the comments that come with it, like, if I were rich like you, and I put an end to those immediately if they come up. I don't like being treated differently because of how much money I have, and I won't treat you differently for how much money you have. We are both people and we are both worth something. I mean, that's fair as long as they don't treat others differently just because they're rich, and if they want others to treat them the same, that's fair. I feel like this isn't bad because they know that they're rich and it's not their fault that they're born into a wealthy family. You know what I mean? Like, they're just born into it. Like, you know, it's just the way it is. It's just how it is, you know. Some people are lucky and some are more unfortunate, kind of thing. Well, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoy. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are, and as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!